FEMA denied Wisconsin's request for public assistance funds for Bayfield, Manitowoc, Marathon, and Racine counties after April's historic storms. Our Wisconsin State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson tells us about the bipartisan support for an appeal.
Public assistance grants help state, local, and tribal governments cover costs for things like debris removal and road repair. Governor Evers says preliminary damage assessments show more than $20 million in eligible damages.
I've seen the devastation firsthand, and I don't know how you overcome that without the support and, by your community, which I'm sure they're getting, but as well as the government.
The state submission for hazard mitigation funds to develop future plans and rebuild in ways to reduce future devastation was also denied. Republican State Representative Calvin Callahan says he supports Governor Evers submitting an appeal.
I hope that whoever's in charge is looking at these a little bit more closely, maybe than they have in the past.
FEMA's rejection letter says the impact of the infrastructure in these areas is, quote, not of the severity and magnitude to warrant their designation for public assistance. In response, Governor Evers writes, quote, Donald Trump is basically telling Wisconsinites that millions of dollars in damages our communities have suffered due to tornadoes, storms, and flooding isn't bad enough or high enough. It's a slap in the face.
You talk to family members and community members who lost those homes, and they're losing more than just, money. They're losing memories and time spent with their families in that community, in those homes that are never going to look the same.
Republican U.S. Representative and gubernatorial candidate Tom Tiffany, who represents multiple counties who were denied assistance, did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Wisconsin has 30 days to submit its appeal. From the Wisconsin State Capitol, Vanessa Kelson.
Vanessa, thank you. The state was approved for FEMA's individual assistance, which provides aid directly to eligible homeowners and renters. To apply for assistance, you can head to disasterassistance.gov.